Before diving into this incredible story, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, every story has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. Rain fell in thin curtains over the dark streets of Charleston, making the asphalt slippery and the lampposts tremble in the wind. In a quiet neighborhood, far from prying eyes, a scream pierced the night. A woman had been brutally murdered in her luxurious riverside home. A few blocks away, 32-year-old widow Rebecca Sinclair was walking alone after finishing her day at the community center where she worked. She had nothing to do with the crime, but that evening, fate was about to play a cruel trick on her. A witness saw her walk past the house, and her appearance, dark, silent, unassuming, made her an easy target for accusations. The next day, the police arrested her at her home without any warning. Prosecutor Thomas Harding, known for his ambitious career and utter lack of scruples, made Rebecca the perfect scapegoat. Despite her protests, her solid alibis, and the absence of direct evidence, the justice system swiftly condemned her. The judge, weary and eager to close the case, pronounced the ultimate sentence, the electric chair. In Charleston State Prison, Rebecca spent her days in a cramped cell, surrounded by gray walls and unforgiving bars. She wrote in her notebook, each word laden with fear, injustice, and memories of her deceased husband, Daniel Sinclair, whom she had never stopped loving. The letters she wrote never reached their recipients, but they were her only way of maintaining a semblance of freedom in that closed world. Despite the gravity of her situation, Rebecca did not succumb to hatred. She remained calm, almost icy, as if injustice itself had forged her will. The guards called her the Black Widow, because of her dark hair and eyes burning with determination. As the day of the execution approached, an invisible tension hung over the prison. Rebecca sensed that something was about to change, but she didn't yet know what. What she didn't know was that just as the electric chair was about to claim her, an unexpected miracle would turn everything upside down and reveal the truth no one had wanted to see. Rebecca Sinclair's cell was icy cold, its gray walls reflecting the shadow of her distress. Every morning, she sat on the narrow bed, notebook on her knees, and wrote words that burned in her chest, memories of her husband Daniel, thoughts about his innocence, and prayers that one day the truth would come out. Her cellmate, Evelyn Carter, a woman in her 40s convicted of petty theft, watched Rebecca with a mixture of curiosity and admiration. Evelyn had heard about the case, and she knew that Rebecca had no connection whatsoever with the crime she was accused of. "You know, nobody really believes you're guilty," Evelyn said one evening, her voice trembling behind bars. Rebecca looked up from her notebook, her expression dark but resolute. "Believing isn't enough, Evelyn. The system doesn't care about the truth. They just want a culprit." Meanwhile, outside, Lucas Bennett, a young, idealistic 28-year-old lawyer, began examining Rebecca's case file. He immediately noticed anomalies, witnesses with contradictory statements, evidence dismissed by prosecutor Thomas Harding, and above all, a surveillance video showing Rebecca several kilometers away from the crime scene at the time of the murder. Every night, Rebecca felt the shadow of the electric chair drawing closer. Stress and fear mingled with a strange, almost supernatural calm. She never showed her panic to the guards. Her courage had become an armor, invisible but solid, that impressed even the most hardened. One day, while she was writing, a message slipped under her door caught her attention. Lucas had managed to contact her with the help of an accomplice inside the prison. His words were simple but full of hope. "Rebecca, I found something that can change everything. Hold on. I won't let your innocence be buried." Rebecca felt her heart beat faster. For the first time since her arrest, a slender thread of hope appeared. But she knew every minute counted. The execution was approaching, and the time to right the wrong was running out. This cell, this cold, this solitude, all would soon become the stage for an upheaval that would change her life forever. The Black Widow, innocently condemned, was about to see the truth emerge where no one expected it. Morning dawned over Charleston State Prison, but for Rebecca, there was no sun. The cold fluorescent light in her cell accentuated the shadows on her face. Each step toward the execution chamber pounded in her chest like a funeral drum. The guards escorted her in silence, their gazes stern but tinged with tension. Rebecca, dressed in the standard prison uniform, walked with icy dignity. Her dark eyes reflected both fear and a silent determination. She would not give her tormentors the satisfaction of seeing her weakness. The execution chamber was cold and clinical. The electric chair stood in the center, surrounded by cameras, doctors, and journalists. The atmosphere was heavy, almost surreal. The prison warden, Harold Thompson, placed the hood over Rebecca's head, his hands trembling slightly with emotion. That's when the impossible happened. The bedroom door almost burst open under the pressure of Lucas Bennett, the young lawyer, panting and soaked by the rain outside. In his hands, a thick file. "Wait," he shouted, his voice echoing in the silent room. "Stop. This woman is innocent." The guards stopped abruptly. Thompson frowned, the doctors hesitated, and Harding, the prosecutor, approached angrily. Lucas brandished the DNA evidence and video recordings, clearly showing that Rebecca was several kilometers away from the crime scene at the time of the murder. The judge, present in the room, took the file and quickly scanned the documents, his eyes widening at the evidence. "Immediate order, stop the execution," he announced in a voice that echoed throughout the room. Rebecca's heart was pounding. She felt the guard's hands remove the hood. Her eyes met Lucas's, and in his gaze, she read a mixture of relief, gratitude, and dizziness. She was finally free, but her heart still carried the weight of lost years, humiliations, and the injustice she had suffered. Chaos reigned around her. Journalists murmured, Harding was furious but powerless, and the press would soon reveal to the world the truth about this monumental miscarriage of justice. Rebecca took a deep breath, trying to hold back the tears that threatened to spill. The Black Widow, on the brink of death, had just been saved by an unexpected miracle. But this was only the beginning. The fight for justice, for truth, and for her rehabilitation was just starting. Rebecca felt her knees buckle slightly as she stepped through the door of the execution chamber. For the first time in years, the air of freedom touched her skin. Each breath felt heavy with a mixture of gratitude and pain. The light rain falling outside seemed to wash away not only the prison dust, but also the years of injustice that had weighed her down. Lucas Bennett led her to a safe corner of the prison, away from the eyes of the journalists and the still shocked guards. He offered her a seat, and Rebecca sat down, her body trembling, her heart pounding wildly. "You are free, Rebecca, truly free," Lucas murmured, his eyes shining with emotion. Tears finally streamed down Rebecca's cheeks. In an instant, she relived all the years she had spent locked away, all the letters never sent, all the nights she had cried alone on her narrow bed. The pain was immense, but it was now accompanied by a new feeling, hope. In prison, Evelyn Carter hugged her. "I knew you were going to make it," she said, her voice trembling. "I believed in you when no one else did." Rebecca knew that her release was only the beginning of a larger battle, to have her innocence publicly recognized and to obtain redress for the injustice she had suffered. But this moment, however brief, was precious. For the first time since her arrest, she felt truly alive. Outside, cameras captured every detail. Stunned journalists filmed Rebecca's face, her hands trembling but her gaze proud. The world would soon learn that the Black Widow, wrongly condemned to the electric chair, had survived the injustice and that the truth had finally prevailed. But the path to rehabilitation and revenge had only just begun. Rebecca knew that Prosecutor Harding would not go unpunished and that the truth had to come out in all its force so that no other life would be shattered in the same way. A few weeks after her release, Rebecca Sinclair stood in her new office, facing a thick file. Lucas Bennett had worked tirelessly to compile all the evidence of her innocence and expose the fraudulent maneuvers of Prosecutor Thomas Harding. The trial against Harding quickly became a media sensation. The city of Charleston held its breath. Witnesses were questioned, videos were presented, and every contradiction in their statements was exposed. Journalists followed every step, publishing on their front pages the phrase that would become etched in history. The Black Widow was innocent. Rebecca wasn't seeking revenge out of hatred, but justice. She attended every hearing, her gaze impassive yet burning with an inner strength that no one could ignore. Daniel Sinclair's former colleagues and friends came to support her, their presence bolstering her resolve. The judge finally delivered his verdict. Thomas Harding was disqualified and sanctioned for tampering with evidence and attempting to secure a wrongful conviction. The once all-powerful prosecutor saw his career ruined. Rebecca also received compensation for the lost years, but more than the money, it was the public acknowledgement of her innocence that mattered. During a press conference, Rebecca spoke. "I am not here to fuel hatred. I am here to remind everyone that justice must prevail over ambition, fear, and prejudice. If my story can prevent anyone from becoming a victim of injustice, then every day lost in prison will have served a purpose." A few months later, Rebecca created the Daniel Sinclair Foundation, dedicated to supporting innocent people unjustly convicted. She became a symbol of resilience and hope, inspiring many people to fight for their rights and to believe in justice, even when all seems lost. Rebecca's face, once etched with fear and injustice, now radiated strength and determination. The wrongfully condemned Black Widow had not only survived the electric chair, but had also transformed her pain into power, her tragedy into hope, and her suffering into justice. And for the first time in years, she was able to look to the future with confidence.